Thank you, Terry. I'm next going to invite Farieda Nazir to give us her input. Farieda is an artist, an educator, a researcher. She teaches at the University of Johannesburg and has been involved in countless exhibitions here and abroad, participating in them, curating them, and her work interfaces with some very important socio-political themes that are important for her. And so can we please also put our hands together and welcome her into this space.
Good afternoon, and welcome everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity, Wady, to speak here at the Apartheid Museum. I'm going to read my contribution because my mind drifts. So it's important for me to keep a train of thought. So I'll read this to you. I apologize. My response today to today's theme, solidarity between women, reality or myth, is titled Climbing the Fence Without a Leg Up, a brief unpacking of support and transformation in higher education. And this is a case study of the University of Johannesburg where I work, with specific reference to, but not limited to, higher educational institutions. So it's about women and solidarity in the workplace, really, and specifically the academic workplace. At the end of 2013, there were 491 black professors in the country and 1,862 white professors. There were 530 black associate professors compared to 1,299 white associate professors. Black women are the most underrepresented group on academic staffs. My starting point is that there is a severe lack of support for women in the academic workplace, women in general, and black women in particular. Alongside this, the support for women by women is frighteningly rare. Why this trend, and how can we move towards a greater sense of support amongst women in academia? In South Africa today, one of the mandates of institutions is to drive the transformation agenda and attempt to redress inequality from a racial and gender perspective. However, despite universities' attempts, higher education remains one of the most untransformed sectors. To this end, we have seen the national student uprising, the Fees Must Fall movement, calling for insourcing, decolonization of the curriculum, and free education, to name a few. From a different vantage point, in terms of the crisis of university staffing and employment demographics, more specifically the development of black professors, and there are still really not enough black professors despite the university transformation attempts. We are still far from meeting our quotas, and there are far few females in this senior positions in higher education. I believe that one of the main reasons for the lack of black female professors is that we have inherited unequal post-merger hybrid universities. I say unequal because we have in South Africa a highly diverse demographic of previously privileged and previously underprivileged staff, meaning on the one hand, staff who were provided with ample support and opportunities to develop, and on the other hand, staff who were previously underdeveloped and undersupported. We also have new emerging staff, those who are considered equity appointments, who lack the experience and core skills to achieve promotions. The result is huge disparity between the profiles of employees in the workplace based on race and gender. But what does support mean in this context? In the case of UJ, support on the part of the institution means opportunities for professional development and skill transfer via programs with the aim to improve the quality of teaching and learning outputs, increase production of research publications, very, very important in institutions these days, and improving the community-based projects as well as instilling leadership qualities. Support from female senior staff members would mean, for example, to mentor and coach younger staff members and emerging staff members, as well as the transfer of their knowledge and expertise. Institutions such as UJ has employed some of these methods to fast-track promotion towards a transformational end. Mentorship is an important part of this, and one iteration of this is the Accelerated Academic Mentorship Program, or the AAMP. This means that senior staff have been mobilized by the institution to support younger and emerging academics in constructive ways. According to the UJ website, the need to transform and to renew the cohort of senior academics has led to the University of Johannesburg establishing its AAMP program, an initiative seeking to effect institutional change in terms of race and gender within the academic staff profile. Talent management programs such as the AAMP mentorship program is set up only to fail amidst the problematic institutional cultures, where there is a very small pool of eligible and willing candidates to choose from. This said, how do we begin to address the pervasive problem within patriarchal and corporate university systems when our challenges also include prevalent race issues, persistent gender issues, competition, and something called the Queen Bee syndrome or phenomenon? So in terms of prevalent race issues, in South Africa we have a legacy of demonizing difference, which deems support across racial divides difficult and in some instances impossible. It is known that we live in a legacy of apartheid, where systematically we have internalized that difference is bad and that this differences takes the form of hierarchy where blackness is at the bottom and whiteness is at the top. We live in a country where distaste for our own blackness or brownness is ingrained and continues and is also intergenerational. We struggle to connect interracially as race still burdens us and impacts on our day-to-day functioning in the workplace and society as a whole. When faced with issues around supporting colleagues of other races, some shy away while others respond condescendingly. Our persistent gender issues, according to Dr. Pauline Machika in our article in the Mail and Guardian in 2014, says the traditional place of a woman in higher education was in the role of teacher or secretary. With greater access to higher education over the past few decades, there has been a rise of the senior woman. The rise, though, has not created a strong enough impact, as there still remains a significant and visible gender inequality gap at higher education institutions. This is largely because of a continuation of traditional norms, such as the conviction that management must be male-dominated. Although women constitute over 50% of the higher education workforce in South Africa, they are still underrepresented in senior positions. Besides for these issues, there are furthermore the regular issues, and I say regular between inverted commas, of competition and a phenomenon known as the Queen Bee syndrome. So this is specific to competition, woman on woman, and the phenomenon known as the Queen Bee syndrome is woman on woman. Competition resulting from corporate university models. When two or more individuals or groups require the same resources, competition may develop. According to Michelle de Good, identifies three key factors that keep women from giving each other a leg up in the business world. Competitive threat, collective threat, and favoritism threat. So competitive threat is the fear that a highly qualified female candidate might be more qualified, competent, or accepted as you are. Collective threat can be summed up in this way. You're concerned you're going to hire an idiot or look bad. And this really goes hand in hand with the favoritism threat, the fear that you might actually look as if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, hiring more women because it creates diversity in your workplace. And this is by Amy Tenery. Competitiveness plays out in the academic world with promotions, research funding, one's reputation, your favor with management, etc. In a patriarchal structure where competition is a kind of sibling rivalry and management position fulfill a paternal function, whether or not the position is taken up by a woman or not. And then lastly, the Queen Bee syndrome occurs amongst women at different levels. It is the culture of stepping on others to get to the top. Queen Bee behavior is a term used to describe women executives that, after research or reaching senior positions, alienate other women and hence prevent more junior women from advancing through the ranks. Such behavior has in the past specifically been observed in corporate environments with a tradition of male domination. and this is by Dr. Babita Martha Helm and Zohra Johnson. Since institutions are based on neoliberal corporate models, Queen Bee syndrome manifests when managers constructively reduces the possibility of potential growth. This can simply take the form of prohibiting time and space for certain growth to take place, inducing academic functions such as research and international travel. So given the systemic issues as well as the aforementioned psychologically or psychosocially related variables related to race, gender, competition, and the phenomenon known as Queen Bee syndrome, I suggest radical intervention that can address the ingrained underlying issues of corporate and managerialist institutional culture in order to permit much needed development and transformation. In the instance of broader organizations and society as a whole, how can the university create a model that acknowledges, is shaped by, and responds to the problems faced by employees, and that includes and tackles these problems, to enhance much needed support structures for women in academia and beyond? Thank you.
Thank you, Farieda. I'm next going to call on Cheryl. Cheryl Carolus is well-known South African. In recent years, in particular, I suppose many will associate her with really amazing things that she has done in corporate, on the boards of many, many companies where she does fantastic work, including a completely woman-owned company that demonstrates that democratizing the corporate space doesn't have to be unprofitable, 2/3 of those profits being plowed back into communities. But of course, she has an illustrious career as well as a South African in the anti-apartheid struggle, has been an amazing part of our liberation movement, and in the transition to democracy with negotiating a negotiated settlement including our constitution, working closely with Madiba, and was also our High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. But for some reason, whenever I hear your name, the first thing I actually think of, Cheryl, is dancing away at the Arts Festival in Grahamstown at the long table. She loves giving me a good time as much as she's a very hardworking person. And also the arts is something that she's very passionate about. Can we please welcome Cheryl into this space?